Good morning. My name is Michał Wiśniewski and I'm going to chair the session concerning the resilience. This very forum, Heritage Forum of Central Europe, is dedicated to bridging the issue of heritage with the most important problems, issues of contemporary. This year, we decided to focus on the topic of development. As it was said in the morning by Agata Wąsowska-Pawlik, development can be understood in many different ways. Can be stood as a growth, but also can be seen through the completely different lens. And this very forum is trying to focus on cultural heritage as a tool for rebranding the issue of development, changing our perspective, our consciousness concerning the issue of development, to see development as a topic of social development, as a gate to the discussion of the post-growth and the discussion about the resilience. During the previous session, Professor Cornelius Holtorf asked us a couple of very important questions dedicated to resilience. How much change can we accept in terms of heritage? Heritage should be understood today in the issue of change. We should promote the change in terms of heritage, not the conservation. This is only a few issues, problems that I would like to discuss with the experts that decided to participate in the part dedicated to the question of resilience. What actually is resilience? Adaptiveness, some kind of ability to change, and this is why I would like to cordially welcome the three speakers of this very afternoon panel. Mr. Levent Tökün from Turkey, Miss Alexandra Bitušíková from Slovakia, and last but not least, Miss Lubomira Trojan from Cieszyn, from Poland. Three very intriguing and very interesting presentations are at front of us. And at first, I would like to give the voice to Mr. Levent Tökün. He's an archaeologist and art historian, focusing on cultural heritage policy and on museums. He obtained his bachelor degree in archaeology and history of art from Koç University in Turkey, but he also studied at Trinity College in Dublin, in Ireland. Later on, he completed his MA degree in World Heritage Studies in Brandenburg University of Technology in Cottbus, Germany, as well as in cultural heritage at Deakin University in Australia. The topic of his MA, the topic that he researched, is the issue of return of illicitly trafficked cultural property, both to and from Turkey, regarding policy, consistency and goodwill. Currently, he's one of the first European Heritage Youth Ambassadors selected by Europa Nostra, the European Heritage Tribune and the European Students' Association of Cultural Heritage. The topic of presentation by Levent Tökün will be Yenikapı Rescue Excavation, Heritage versus Politics. Levent, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the great introduction, and I hope you can all hear me and see the presentation right now. Hello everyone once again. I'm Levent Tökün from Turkey, and you are all welcome to the presentation. For this session, I choose to talk about perhaps one of the most important discoveries of the 2000s in the whole region and the field of nautical archaeology, Byzantine and Neolithic studies. Yenikapı Rescue Excavations, or short Yenikapı Excavations in Istanbul, Turkey, is comprehensively examined to demonstrate how Turkey's daily politics can affect the heritage of its own in such an outstanding discovery of the 21st century, which entirely changed the history of the city as well as the history of the region. To illustrate this heritage versus politics dichotomy, the presentation explores all possible aspects, namely the brief description, historical significance, World Heritage status, political aspects, current situation, and future perspectives of the site. Although Yenikapı is the main location of those discoveries, as we will see, there is not only one site. In general, Yenikapı Excavations or projects started as a part of survey and rescue excavation in 2004, along with more than a 100-year-old dream project of the metro tunnel which goes under the Bosphorus and connects two parts of the city, in other words, two continents. However, it turned out quite a significant archaeological revolution in the field of maritime archaeology and the city's history, together with its hinterland. The Yenikapı excavation lasted nearly 10 years, and it is still partially continuing along with the preservation and documentation of the findings. In the end, approximately 750 workers, 50 archaeologists, and art historians worked 24/7 for nearly 10 years and in the land sites of 10 blocks in 3 different locations. But why did excavation take place? It is because of $3 billion project of Marmaray metro line, which the current project dates the earliest 1984. After 20 years of preparation, the construction began in 2004 and it was planned to be completed by the end of 2009. However, as the contractor company states in the book of the project, the past and future once again clashed. And everything we are going to see here started at that moment. In the end, the metro line was opened in 2013 with a four-year delay due to the multi-layered and rich history of the city of Istanbul. As I mentioned earlier, initial surveys and rescue excavations also started in 2004 under the supervision of the Istanbul Archaeological Museums in 3 locations: Üsküdar, Sirkeci, and our main site, Yenikapı, which is the transfer center for the metro line as well. Yenikapı excavations lasted until 2010, except for the still ongoing documentation and preservation together with the metro excavations, which goes along with the coastline of the Asian side of the city. As important information, Yenikapı area itself is not a UNESCO site on any list. However, it is in a UNESCO site, which is the historic areas of Istanbul, inscribed in 1985 as one of the first three sites of Turkey without any particular mention, since no one was actually aware of the rich heritage of the region at that time. During and after excavations, people became more and more aware of the layers on which today's city was built on, as once again, this massive project significantly proved that there is not even one single spot empty under our feet. Apart from the already known history of the city, which was dating back to 2500 BCE, and its founding myth of the King Bizas, together with the obvious levels of Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman periods, the excavations added new layers and the extensions to the already existing ones. For example, thanks to the Yenikapı excavations and Üsküdar excavations, now the city is dating back to 8000 and 8500 BCE, and in a day the city got 5000 years older, which I think one of the most fascinating parts of archaeology archaeologists found the footsteps of Neolithic people in Yenikapı, which was and still is the largest well-preserved example of its kind in the region. Apart from that, very well organized and elaborated mass graves, along with some richly designed individual graves in Neolithic positions, were found. And as you can see on the screen, by the way, these graves of rich people are also considered the first wealthy citizens of the city. Apart from the age of the city, we have a lot more findings from the projects that you have been seeing through the slides and will be. First, archaeologists discovered that the Yenikapı site is the former harbor of Theodosius, built by Emperor Theodosius the Great in the second half of the 4th century CE. Accordingly, archaeologists unearthed 37 shipwrecks, which soon became the largest collection in the world of medieval ships, including only the Byzantine galleon so far discovered in the history. They also discovered many architectural features and foundations, such as customs houses, granaries, docks, and piers. In addition, archaeobotanists and archaeozoologists discovered a massive amount of animal and vegetation samples in situ, as these were being traded constantly during the active years of the harbor. The harbor was the biggest one during the time of its use, approximately from the 4th century until the late 7th century, and was the center of international trade, especially the grain trade from Egypt. Later, until the 11th century, the harbor was continued to be used for other commercial activities, but sadly, due to the silt that nearby river carried through the years, it was completely silted up by the early 13th century. At the edge of the harbor, another striking discovery happened, and they found the small sections of two different city walls of Constantinople. One belongs to the period of Constantine the Great, which is still under discussion, and the other one belongs to the Theodosius II. Apart from this, as you can see on the screen, many kinds of daily items, such as a pair of shoes together with an inscription of the shoemaker, and on the left, a hair comb with a possible mother of pearl inlay. Additionally, anthropologists and archaeologists could reconstruct some of the faces that they had found, and in the end, they could see a face from 1,000 years ago city together with their diet, which ended up quite healthy as it was full of seafood. However, was it easy to make it happen? For obvious reasons, not. There are many explanations for this, but one of the major challenges is that all these significance first, biggest, and the most needed utmost attention of every member of the team in a very limited time under quite demanding working conditions, as they worked during winter in the city center and for 24/7. There were also huge public and private sector pressure on them to make the rescue excavation in the best way possible, as well as fast. But more importantly, as the title of this presentation underlines, politics versus heritage. As in many other cases of the recent years in Turkey, when we talk about Yenikapı excavations, quite expectedly, the government and with less emphasis the municipality were greatly involved in the project. It is both because they funded the projects, but most importantly, it is because the excavations were first seen as an obstacle for them to make their biggest projects come true. In the beginning, they were not expecting such a huge history under the project area, and day by day, discovery after discovery, pressure on the government side grew significantly to stop the development project and allow scientists to work on the findings in a lot better conditions as well as in situ. But it was not easy to do because both the government and its supporters, even the director of the responsible museum, as he was also a government official at the time, supported a quick rescue excavations since they believed scientists were the reason of the delays in their prestigious project, which was also controversial by the time. So the government's voice changed quickly, and they started to blame scientists and workers to deliberately make the investments late and put unreal obstacles along the road, as they were not supporting the government and they did not want to have that metro tunnel or any development project in the city. Expectedly, it immediately became quite a political and was used as a thing in those days, daily politics by both sides. There were significant clashes among the Cultural and Natural Heritage Conservation Board, scientists working on the site, government officials, museum directorate, and even the public. There were also so many individual events such as strikes, project shutdowns, change of the museum director and board members, together with public speeches by the government high officials to make Yenikapı excavations even more political and faster. For example, the prime minister at the time once stated that we are delaying a project for 3 or 4 years. Why? There are serious obstacles ahead of us. For example, we have the Marmaray project, but the story of simple pottery has lost us for years. Marmaray was to be announced 3 or 4 years ago. Look, we are trying to finish this by October 29th. It's a pity, isn't it? Every passing minute is against this country's future and economy. If we are going to be above the level of contemporary civilizations, we should make these investments quickly. End of quote. Starting from the 2000s, the municipality has been in favor of having a nice modern museum to host the findings and make the area an archaeopark for the visitors. To do that, they organize an international design competition, Yenikapı Transfer Point and Archaeopark Area International Architectural Preliminary Project Invited Service Procurement in 2012. The winner was announced later in 2015 and the museum plan was approved accordingly. However, it is interesting to note that there were at the time actually 2 different news with pictures, plans and videos of separate winning projects for the same area as you have seen and seeing on the screen. Yet the museum project was somehow delayed being realized, and a FI website claimed that the project was going to be finalized at the end of 2019. As for the later situation of the site in 2019, Binali Yıldırım, who is a former prime minister and was a candidate from Turkey's and Istanbul's ruling party for a relatively long period for the Metropolitan Municipality of Istanbul elections on 31st of March 2019, announced the project's future, stating that it will be realized soon. Yıldırım said that Peter Eisman design was to be the new museum for the exhibiting the Yenikapı findings, and the new archaeopark was to be the new museum, must-visit site in the world, like the Louvre Museum in Paris. However, as his opponent Ekrem İmamoğlu from the main opposition party of Turkey succeeded in the elections after approximately 25 years of having failed in Istanbul's elections, Eisman's project became no longer an option to be fulfilled. Instead, another national design competition was held in 2020 by the new municipality. An entirely distinct project won the first prize. Once again, it is clear that heritage as soft power is included in the daily politics of the city and or the countries by both sides as a point of division and competition regardless of their ideology. For any government, this type of mega project would become a symbol of a political triumph in the most populous city of Turkey, Istanbul, where both financial and public support is in abundance. Moreover, one should also consider that Mr. Erdogan's connection attached to the city since he started his political career as the mayor of Metropolitan Municipality of Istanbul. Thus, he always perceives the projects in the city, even after his mayorship, as a personal matter and accomplishment. Even in the current atmosphere, it is still an ongoing ideology that one can track the remnants of it for the long-debated Canal Istanbul project. The above-mentioned new Theodosius Harbour archaeological site architectural project competition by the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality was finalized in 2020, and Project 27 was the winner of it. It is stated that the new project will serve as a conveyor of the multi-layered past of the site, as well as the city itself, to the current local foreign visitors with the contemporaneous designs and the techniques in an inclusive way. The new archaeopark is intended to be realized in the late 2021, yet due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it will be a real challenge to do. The new management of the municipality was in favor of organizing a new competition rather than continue with the already selected museum project by the previous management. Thus, it is deductible that as the mayorship changed, the entire program of the municipality, included but limited to the cultural heritage project, were also altered according to the ideology of the new management, although the ultimate goal, having a modern museum, stays the same in the same area for the same purpose. Turkey, although not alone, has a highly challenging political atmosphere even on daily basis. As in the example of Yenikapı Excavations and Marmaray Metro Line project, official attitude of the government and or the local authorities can change depending on the motivations of the actors as well as the reactions received from the others. Yet the previous management of the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality was not able to conclude the overall project, although there was an already designed and selected museum project. As of today, new management has not yet started the construction of their competition's winning project either, even after they organized a brand new competition by abrogating the previous management's competition and its chosen design without providing a clear justification for having an entirely new process. The change of plans may have been happened due to the ambiguous results of the previous competition and or the whole untransparent process of the previous management for this project, yet not clearly explained. Understandably, the new management with fresh ideas and different objectives could adjust the previous plans and systems in the city according to their ideology. However, this shift in the master plan of the municipality should not be an obstacle in the realization of long-awaited projects such as Yenikapı Museum, since the excavations and the findings were of utmost significance for the heritage of the city, region, and even the world, with all the expected and unexpected outcomes. It is also clear that such a significant decisions like museum project should not be concluded in rush and or without a transparent as well as an inclusive process. In the end, although the Marmaray was opened to the public years ago in 2015 and the excavations are finalized by the authorities, there is still hope and a lot to do to protect and enrich the city's cultural and natural life with the help of all stakeholders, including but not limited international ones such as UNESCO, especially when it comes to the enrichment of the outstanding universal value of the already inscribed UNESCO World Heritage Site. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so very much. It was really amazing. I mean, the topic, the scale of archaeological excavation is really unusual. And, well, the political interference, it's another layer of this story. Pushing me to ask the question if the resilience dedicated to cultural heritage might be achieved when the politics is involved. I would ask all of us to keep the questions for the end of the session. We still have two more presentations at the front of us. So I would like to ask all of us to be back with the questions at the end of the session and to put the questions into the chat. I see some questions already, but following one of the comments, I would like to express my gratitude and congratulations to the Levent Tökün for really intriguing and amazing topic that was just presented. And our time is right now coming to the end. I mean the time of this very presentation. So I would like to use this opportunity to already start the presentation of another speaker of this very session. Namely, I would like to introduce Miss Alexandra Bitušíková. So from Turkey, we will move to Slovakia. Alexandra Bitušíková represents the Matej Bell University. She's a researcher in the CRAS project, the project which is run by the Institute of Global History, the Faculty of Arts at the Charles University in Prague. Welcome. Great to have you with us in this very session, in the resilience session. She's a full professor at the Matej Bell University in Bańska Bystrica. She was a visiting scholar at Cambridge University, as well as University College in London, as well as Boston University in Massachusetts, US, and some other universities. She also worked for 8 years in the European Commission and in the European University Association in Brussels. Her main research interests include cultural heritage, urban renewal, and sustainability, diversity, gender and social movements, and activism in Central Europe. She published more than 100 scientific papers, books, chapters, and monographs in Slovakia and abroad, and lectured all over the world. She participated in 9 European Framework Program projects and has been a member of a number of experts groups in the European Commission, a member of Professional Association EACA and SciIEF. Just before this presentation, we heard about the metro line in Istanbul and about large-scale archaeological excavations. Right now, let's discuss what is above the ground. Let's discuss the castles in Slovakia. The name of the presentation, the title of the presentation is Building Resilience Through a Program Renewal of Castles in Slovakia. Professor Bitušíková, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be with you, although not in person, as it is said these days. As our moderator said, I am from Matej Bell University in Slovakia, but at the same time, I have a small contract at Charles University in Prague, and the result of this project is mainly about it's about project which is connected to Charles University about adaptability as conditions of the success of Europe in the interrelated world, where cultural heritage is one part of this project. So, I now lost errors.
It looks that we have some technical problems. The connection with Professor Bitušíková is gone, I hope, for a while. So please stay with us. We hope to get this connection back in a short time. I'm very sorry for this problem. We are working on it and hoping to be back in a very short time.
would be a problem because I'm a dinosaur, with these things. So no, no wonder that I have problems. Hello. You probably can see me now, but I'm not sure. And I would like to. So let's start again, and I will be quick. I promise. As I said, I'm a dinosaur, and I was really worried that this would happen, and yes, it happened. So I am back, and I hope that you can hear me and see me. And I'm going to talk about the program, which is one of the best examples in Slovakia, at least, but it's also quite successful in Europe-wide, which is about engagement of the unemployed in renewal conservation of historic ruins. So I will give you a few background information first, and then I will talk about the program and why is this program important also for building resilience and sustainability of local communities. Would it be possible, because I am quite unable to move the slides. Would it be possible if someone moved my slides? Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thanks. So why to talk about historic ruins in Slovakia? Although Slovakia is a very small country, but it has quite a lot of diversities and secrets, and one of them is that it has, well, according to many sources, the highest number, I would say, one of the highest number of castles and castle ruins per capita in the world. We have about 10,000 tangible monuments on the national list. Out of them, 110 are castles, and in addition, then there are more than 200 other historic castle ruins. So about 300 castle ruins in a small country is quite a lot. Why is it like that? Well, the history of these castles, of course, started a long time ago in the Middle Ages, 12th to 14th centuries usually, and was supported by the aristocracy of the Hungarian monarchy, because Slovakia was part of this monarchy at that time. And because it is a mountainous country, these regions were predisposed for building castles as fortresses, which were more difficult to defeat. After long history and many battles during Ottoman Empire, victory of the Habsburgs in the Rákóczi Wars. Most of these castles were abandoned because they were damaged or completely destroyed, and their original owners moved to larger cities. Next, please. This is just the example of one of these castles, how they look like, many of them. This is, of course, one of the largest ones, but there are many similar ones. Next, please. Yes, so after 1989, the situation, of course, during communism, there was no attention paid to these castle ruins. And after the fall of communism, in the process of restitutions, a few descendants of original owners managed to get back to their ownership, but it was really very, very small number because it was difficult to go back for so many centuries. So most of these, a vast majority of these historic castle ruins have become the ownership of local municipalities. And at the same time, of course, it has become quite a big financial burden for these municipalities because they did not have any money to restore them or human or expert capacities to deal with these objects, so the decay continued. But next, please. The new democratic regime, of course, brought the birth of new activism, new civil society, which wasn't able to develop during communism. So also in this area of restoring or at least saving these castle historic ruins, a lot of local initiatives appeared, mainly in the late 90s. And in 2002, the association Save the Castles was established as a membership organization of these local initiatives, grassroots initiatives, and who had as the main domain of their work really conservation of castle ruins in their localities. It was mainly done by volunteering, but usually under the guidance of an expert. And there are a number of groups of these volunteers in these localities. This association has now 28 members, so 28 localities. And these volunteers really, it has become their way of life, their holidays, their weekends, the feeling of good work, good feeling and joy. It has significantly already, this activity contributed to some local solidarity, social cohesion, pride in heritage and identity. And this volunteering program, next please, was soon accompanied by the state-supported program, which got the name Let Us Renew Our House. And it had subtitle Involvement of the Unemployed in the Renewal of Cultural Heritage. So it was this association, umbrella association, Save the Castles, that was the initiator of the idea, and together with Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Labour, Family and Social Affairs, and using successfully European funding, they started this program in 2011, and the key objective was to give an opportunity to the unemployed people with a focus on long-term unemployed people over 50 who couldn't find a job anymore, often in these villages, and people with lower levels of education. I must say that the majority of these people were people of the Roma origin, but not only. The Roma minority, which in Slovakia is rather large, many of them are unemployed, and there is still, unfortunately, rather high discrimination to employ these people. So these people managed to get a job at least for about 5 months of the year, because it's really a summer job from spring to autumn. in this project on the renewal of castle ruins. The aim was to teach them, to give them an opportunity to learn new skills, often very heritage-specific skills, because, of course, they had to learn specific skills related to wood techniques, mainly traditional techniques, I would say. And, of course, give them a chance to, in the future, to find a new job based on these acquired skills. Next, please. So the first decade of the program is now over, we can say, because it started in 2011, and there were about 5,000 unemployed people involved in the program, which cost about 24 million euro. And the program included the renewal of 30-40 castles and castle ruins each year. Of course, it wasn't always new castles. It's a 2-year funding program always since 2011, and municipalities or these non-governmental organizations could compete for funding every 2 years. So often there are the same castles, but not always that get funding. So the benefits of the program are rather important because, of course, hundreds of long-term unemployed people acquired new skills, and some we already know have become successful in the labor market, found a job. Of course, the renovated castle ruins are becoming a target of cultural tourism, and we could see it last year, which was an enormous growth, of course, of tourism, local tourism, domestic tourism. This leads to creating more local jobs, strengthening local economy and sustainability. And an added value is a great involvement of other actors, local municipalities, hundreds of volunteers, local businesses, and experts. Next, please. I see that my time is coming out. This is just the picture of one castle area where this project is promoted. Next, please. And why to talk about this program in connection to sustainability and resilience? We know a lot of studies now about resilience, theoretical studies about resilient, sustainable communities. Usually they started with ecological studies, how to manage climate change, natural disaster risks, which can be a big threat to local communities. But it went further as the concept developed, and also we can see that it's not only climate change related problems which we face, which are of course very important, but there are also other social based conflicts which we face also in local communities, whether it is cohabitation of various groups of different backgrounds, in case of Slovakia, majority and Roma minority, for instance. And last year and this year we'll even see that resilience can become also something which we have to think about when talking about the effects of the pandemic. So we now talk more about social resilience, which is more seen as a capacity to foster, to engage in, and to sustain positive relationships, as you can see from this sentence which I put here. The importance of fairness, compassion, collaboration within the community, openness, empathy, care, all these things, respect for others, tolerance, group identity. So these are all aspects which are very important for really strengthening resilient and sustainable local community. Next, please. And this program and generally heritage can become a very important tool how to strengthen our local communities. It can connect local communities, various groups of them, and it can really contribute to this this resilient and sustainable communities by using heritage as a tool. Of course, there is no time to talk about the involvement of the Monuments Board of the Slovak Republic, because of course you cannot do this conservation of these ruins as just an enthusiastic thing. It must have an expert guidance, which it has. But of course, we could talk about some challenges of that, which there are, yes. But maybe in the discussion we can come back to that. Next, please. And in the paper, in the full paper, if it is accepted for the publication, I would like to talk about one case, which is the Pustý hrad, or deserted castle example in the city of Zvolen, which is one of the largest in Central Europe. And it's a very successful story, which really put together the whole city. The city built in its identity on it now, although it was completely abandoned for many, started to be discovered only in the 1990s. And there are a lot of local associations connected with that, and that's it. And there are only a few more pictures there. If you can show that, please, one by one, because there are no more. Yes, this is this Pustý hrad, this big area on the hill over the city of Zvolen. Next, please. Also from this, next, please. This is the annual ascent, annual climb to this hill of local people. Next, please. And this is another castle, but you can see that it's not also always easy. It's sometimes you need climbers and sportsmen who can do certain things, because sometimes it can be also dangerous. Next, please. I think the next one is the last one. Yes, this is the most dramatic one, that how your skills are also not to be scared of heights in this case. So yes, to just conclude, that's it. But just to conclude, I would like to say that what is important, I think, is also that it was seen as a very successful program of using European funds, really engaging the unemployed people, not only giving them new skills, but also giving them attachment and pride in their heritage, teaching them also this. And it shows this very important participatory governance methods, how to manage and sustain heritage, and how to co-create heritage sites when various actors are involved. In this case, it was, of course, local municipalities and non-governmental organizations, the unemployed people, hundreds of volunteers of various kinds, and local businessmen who provided material and food often. So that's it from me. I apologize for the beginning. Sorry about that. But thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to our discussion later.
Thank you very much. I should say that the International Cultural Center in Krakow is involved in the program run by the Krakow University of Economics. It is a postmaster course for the cultural activists and professionals from the region of Ropa and from Zborov. And this project was launched in 2020, and right now is going to be ended in the next month. And we have very intriguing papers presented as a final results of these projects. And one of them is about Szymbark Castle and about Zborowska Makowica. And the topics that you mentioned, dedicated to the involvement of the NGOs as well as engagement of the unemployed people, was presented in this very paper. I hope that it will be published one day. Anyway, I should go forward and express my gratitude for this presentation, first of all. But unfortunately or fortunately, the time is pushing us forward. And right now, I would like to invite the third speaker of this very afternoon. I would like to invite Ms. Lubomira Trojan. She represents the Cieszyn Castle, just on the border between Poland and the Czech Republic this time. And I should say that Lubomira Trojan, she's a cultural anthropologist and also a vice director of the Regional Design Center Zamek Cieszyn, Castle Cieszyn. Her particular interests are protection of traditional craft and intangible cultural heritage and its development with the use of design methods. She's an active conference participant and leader of many design thinking workshops, also in the field of heritage. She's the expert of Polish Agency for Enterprise Development. She is at present preparing the PhD dissertation entitled The Use of Design Thinking in the Management of the Intangible Cultural Heritage in the Region. Welcome to the 6th Heritage Forum of Central Europe. The title of presentation by Lubomira Trojan is The New Craftsmanship as a Way of Developing Intangible Heritage. Ms. Lubomira Trojan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am very happy to be here with you. I wanted to say hello to everybody from Cieszyn. As you said, it's located just in the south of Poland on our border with Czech Republic. So we are in the center of the Europe, exactly in the center, connected to a lot of local processes about managing the local heritage. But as you have also said, we are settled in Cieszyn with the first regional design center in Poland. So that's pretty amazing that in a small city we could have such a chance to develop a lot of innovative processes using design as a tool. And I'm talking about this from the early beginning of my speech, as this is really important because we try to be a kind of linkage and link the processes where we have innovation, entrepreneurship, and tradition all together. And design is a tool which helps us not only link but also develop all those spheres of the man's activity. And according to that, we also work on the phenomenon of crafts and craftsmanship. And we are aware that all the cultural heritage management is a kind of management of change. And we are absolutely positive about the fact that we can't stop those changes. And we just don't need to contain the heritage, but we need to find the best tools to develop it and, of course, to protect it as the first thing. But as my colleagues before has also said, participation with local people and the local communities is one of our most important duties according to all of the heritage management processes. And I want to talk about some of the changes, which are quite obvious to all of us, of course. And the factors of the change were also mentioned today in a lot of amazing presentations. We had a change to, we had a possibility to listen about climate crisis. Of course, problem of aging, COVID effects, or the usage of new technologies is something which is quite obvious for most of us. But me personally, I'm the cultural anthropologist, so observing all those changes and how they affect some problems according to the resilience of intangible heritage is also one of my interests, and that's what I also do in Zamek Cieszyn. And being aware of those changes, we all are looking for the best tools and ways how to not only stay on the surface, I would say, in the moment of crisis, or as Mr. Taleb has called it, the black swan problem, like, for example, the COVID and pandemic. And we are looking for the tools, some ideas which come from the business world and economy. And one of those very simple tool which I wanted, or idea maybe, which I wanted to mention today is the idea of so-called gold circle by Simon Sinek, who said that in most of the companies, the most important factor of the survival and resilience is not what they do or how they do, but why they are doing some things. What is the reason that they do that? And that's what helps the companies to survive. And this is the perspective which I wanted to use, having a look at the craftsmanship and craftsmen as people who also need to deal with these black swan problems and all the factors of change that we have at the moment in the world. So this is my thesis, that craftsmanship and its reduction to mere human factors is becoming the kind of answer and a kind of good example how to deal with the intangible heritage in a moment of change. And here are some data. Just to be honest, in Poland, we don't really have such good maybe research and some as Crafts Council in Great Britain is having. And this is the wonderful report they made in 2020, last year, which was already a pandemic year. And this is, there are some absolutely important highlights from this report that I wanted to mention today. And what Crafts Council has observed is that craft has become at the moment a kind of a mainstream, and there are much more maker businesses in Great Britain. There are fewer barriers to sell crafts, and there are opportunities with the rise of the experience economy, which are extremely important for the craftsmanship. And I must admit, in Poland, we also have observed the situation in 2020 and talked to some of our societies which are focused on the so-called new craftsmanship, and they had the same remarks about the last year's way of functioning on the market, that there are much more makers, much more crafts businesses, and because of the possibility of selling in internet, in fact, the craftsmen earn much more money. But to be honest, this is not only because of the pandemic. This is also because there are some wider trends on the market. And this is, of course, the rise of the e-commerce, but also investment purchases over throwaway objects, which is an extremely important trend at the moment. And also an interest in sustainability and supporting small businesses which we also had a chance to hear today in the first present important aspect of the sustainability, is a very good trend for craftsmanship at the moment. And what we can observe is that those values which Simon Sinek is talking about, like the value why we are doing things, not what we are doing, but why we are doing this, is very well absorbed by so-called new craftsmen. And we call it in Poland new craftsmanship. I have also found this kind of quotations in literature. So it's a kind of of course, new trend, but it's not so easy to define it. And we must say that people who call themselves new craftsmen, they say they first of all believe that they are valuable to the local community. And what gives us the new craftsmanship? This is the phenomenon that I would say belongs to some of the people who are new in the world of crafts. Usually, these are people who are kind of artisans, designers, also architects, people who deal with management as well. But they have discovered that they love working with material that they can shape, they can have in their words, in their hands, and they believe that the craftsmanship is something that has a positive effect on the environment, but also influences in general the development of creativity, which is so important nowadays when we deal with all those problems and factors of change. We need to be creative, we need to think out of the box, and at the same time, we know that school systems and education that school gives us is not the one which allows us to be as creative as we should be. That's why working using your hands has a great impact on the people's creativity. And craftsmanship is also the evidence of human skills in general. It is an evidence of what can people do. And the old techniques are so inspiring for the new craftsmanship, for the new designers, architects, that they are absolutely impressed and they want to learn those old techniques, but using design tools, they make it more interesting for the consumers which are on the market at the moment. And the new craftsmanship gives those values which are important for the consumers at the moment on the market. But of course, it's obvious that new craftsmanship is also important for the local development. It gives the uniqueness and it shows the attractiveness of the city, of the place, of the region. Of course, it is used in building the local products. So in that way, it supports the local economy. And all those values of the new craftsmanship make it they allow the old techniques and old craftsmen to survive, maybe in a little bit changed shape, but still they allow them to be in the social life. And what shows us, what is important also, what Crafts Council says, that besides what I have already said, that it's important factor in local development, it's important for the economy, it also is a big factor, it has a big impact on the identity of the local societies. of course, we know this is a part of the value which is which belongs to the intangible heritage at all, or to the cultural heritage at all. But having some observations and talking to new craftsmen, we can really say that the local identity in the factor of the changes and in the pandemic has become something which is a very important value for people to feel better and to have a better quality of the life. And of course, it has a positive impact on the heritage development. And again, data from Great Britain to show that almost 25 million of the craft objects were sold in Great Britain. You can see also that there's an export of the craft in, for example, in New York or Los Angeles. This is something which was the kind of inspiration for the Polish designers who took part in the exhibition which we organized in our Zamek Cieszyn, and having just a few examples from this exhibition, I wanted to show you those values of new craftsmanship that allow the craftsmen to be more resilient. And for example, this wonderful picture shows us a bag made by Magdalena Maślerz, made from crab shell. But what is important, it is made from leftovers. It is a beautiful part of the product that we really want to keep in our hand. And this is completely zero waste. And Magdalena, she used some old techniques to prepare the bone. In this case, it was a crab shell, but she used the old techniques, and we have completely new, beautiful product, which is completely zero waste. The other wonderful object made by new craftsmen, in this case, it was ceramics. It is a porcelain set designed and made by Bogdan Kosak. And this is an example of how to combine old technologies with creation of a beautiful object which is deserved by the modern consumers. And this is a saucer and a cup that was prepared for our National Radio Symphony Orchestra in Poland. And it's, of course, emphasizing the region's heritage, and it's combined to the architecture of the new seats of the orchestra shape. So we have also here this mastery of preparation, the very thin porcelain object, which is a kind of a beautiful and this object that people want to have at the moment. One more about self-development. The picture which we can have a look at, it shows us the guy who is making the knife using, of course, the old techniques as well, manually made knife, and those luxury knives which can be sold and you can buy it in internet as well at the moment. They are a part of everyday lives, but here the design studio Kłosy, they also offer the kind of the self-development for the people who want to be a part of that process. You can go to the workshop, you can also give your nine for renovation, but the close contact with the designer helps people to be more aware of the value of the craft. And one more, the last example, which is about identity, which I have already said about a few words, made by Other Design. This is a set for spices, for salt and pepper, and it is designed in the shapes of the churches which are in our east borderland. Like we have the church which is Catholic, also Jewish, also Muslim, and we got a product which is made by hands, supports the local businesses, but also it tells a lot about the local identity and this intangible heritage. So, in conclusion, the new craftsmanship is a part of intangible heritage, which is transferred from generation to generation. It is important for the local community. It helps with the self-identity, and it's attractive for modern consumers. So new craftsmanship, it bases on the definition of the intangible heritage, which is proposed by UNESCO. And as we can also see, it is a beautiful example of using and combining this out-of-the-box kind of thinking, this multidisciplinary thinking, where we can have entrepreneurships, when we can have some business models, we can have design as a tool, and we can build all together in these processes design strategy which would help the heritage to survive and develop at the same time. And last but not least, I would say that the new craftsmanship is very close to the ideas we were also talking about today in the previous presentations, because it gives the human touch. Here is a quotation from Bogdan Kosak, the porcelain maker, designer, who said that giving somebody a piece of the craft is like giving a piece of ourselves, the time, our life, and this is the possibility to contact with other people. And without that, Bogdan says, the world would be inhuman. So according to the processes which we all have at the moment, the global processes, those complicated social challenges, and having the idea of the Green Deal and also new European Bauhaus, it all goes to the point that we need more human touches in our lives. And that's why I believe new craftsmanship is the important perspective and important part of not only old heritage, but our everyday lives. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you so very much for this really intriguing presentation dedicated to how our creativity can be used for the purpose of resilient life and resilient approach towards the civilization, if I may use such a big word. I see some questions on the chat. Actually, I should apologize for not being tough concerning the timekeeping. The word Bauhaus was used, and I should say that in a few minutes there'll be an online guided tour through the exhibition that we have on display in the ICC gallery, namely Modern Bauhaus. The German photography between the wars and the Polish parallels, that's the title. But we still have few minutes for the questions, and I see one for Lubomira. Barbara Furmanik is asking, what an intriguing lecture. Do you know where and how these new craftsmen find places, schools, or masters where they are learning old crafts? Also, it is very interesting to see new approach to old craft. Thank you. So, the education. I can't hear. Yes.
No? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So this kind of innovative places like design centers, innovations are in the most in the focus. They are really at the moment preparing a lot of workshops and so-called meetings for people where they can meet with the old craftsmen and learn the old techniques. But of course, there are no schools as far as I am concerned. We would love to have the School of Crafts in Cieszyn. We are waiting for the solutions of one of the projects where we tried to get money for this School of Crafts. So keep our fingers crossed. And I'm sure that we need more this kind of activities. At the moment, you just need to look for some design centers which would allow you to meet this kind of people and techniques. That's all what I can suggest at the moment, unfortunately. Of course, a lot of academies of fine arts, they also at the moment include in their education, in their paths of educating students, they also include the meetings with the old craftsmen. And as far as I know, some of the new diplomas, graduation projects, they are also based on the old techniques. So you would need to look also at the Academy of Fine Arts.
And I see also, thank you so much, and thank you for inviting Simon Sinek to this discussion. The question about why do we do some things is so simple and so important that I would like to thank you for that. Anyway, I see some questions also to Levent Tökün, who is with us, and there is a question from Ola Javiera. Did the municipality arrange any solution for the local transport due to the 4 years delay? It is difficult for us sometimes to talk local governments to support excavations, and they often ask, what can we do to ease local problems caused by excavations?
Yeah, very good question actually. But there was already an established transportation system in the city. So, as for the transportation problems, actually nothing nothing like more than usual problems occurred during the construction period of the metro line and the excavations, because the area was an abandoned and empty area before that excavation and project. But of course, like minor daily traffic jam and other things happened, of course, like the delays, because Istanbul is also a very hectic city in terms of transportations in general. It is, and it will be probably. So, but nothing like nothing more than like usual happened.
Okay, thank you for this answer, for this clarification. I have also one question to Alexandra Bitušíková. My question is about the number of the people involved in the projects that you mentioned. How big is the scale of this involvement of unemployed people into the projects dedicated to the renewal of the castles?
Yeah. Thank you very much. So in the decade of the program, we can talk about 5,000 unemployed people, which might seem not as a huge number, but it is usually about 500 to 600 people per each renewal project each year. And as I said before, there are about about 30 to 40 successful projects supported by the funding scheme every year. Some of the castles are the same, which are successful more times because, of course, we all know that the renewal cannot be finished within 2 years. But yes, it is about 5,000 unemployed people who are involved and get a job during this about 5 months period of the year. And in addition, they are accompanied, of course, by still these hundreds of volunteers. These volunteers come from local communities, but also, in the case of cities, from university students, secondary school students, and in many cases also there are accompanied by summer schools, archaeological and architectural summer schools where students also participate in not only excavations and research, but also in this saving or conservation of these ruins, because the most important part, of course, or method in these cases is, after cleaning up all bushes and trees, because most of these ruins were completely hidden from your sight in many of these places. So after cleaning up of these things, then the work comes, which is mainly to secure the walls of these ruins, secure the historical site so that it is safe for the visitors to see it. So this is this method of conservation mainly to make statics safe. And in this case, it is all of these people, as I said, about 5,000 people, unemployed people so far got this opportunity, and a lot of volunteers and students are involved as well.
Thank you so much. It's a really intriguing issue, how to involve people. And I think this program is more than interesting. I think that many countries can learn from the example of Slovakia, from the ideas coming from Slovakia. In Krakow, we like to say that we like to see to the south. So today, this afternoon, we heard three very intriguing cases from the south, from Istanbul, from Slovakia, and from Cieszyn, presenting us how heritage can help us in the more resilient modus operandi in terms of cultural heritage. We learned how heritage can help to manage the proper planning of the city. However, I know that Istanbul is a very difficult place, and planning of Istanbul and stopping the urban sprawl in Istanbul is a very difficult issue. But I think that the case that you presented let us express how cultural heritage can help in stopping some projects that might cause a very big problems and even destruction. Thank you for that. We learned that cultural heritage can be very important to involve people into the society, into the social life, and the case of Slovakia castles might be very talkative and helpful to understand how difficult and how important this process is. So thanks for this very case. And finally, creativity as a way to use the skills that we somehow lost and we still trying to find among our society. This is another issue that I could learn from this very afternoon, and once again I would like to express my gratitude for this very presentation. I don't see any more questions, so I think it's start to say this is the end of the presentation. I know that the presentation about the Bauhaus exhibition is already going on, so please accept once again my thanks for all of your presentations, for this very intriguing discussion, and please be with us today, but also tomorrow during the next presentations dedicated to the resilience. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Goodbye.
much. It was really lovely. It was also lovely to hear the co-speakers' presentations. I was really very inspired by them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
The session is over.